So we've been watching VR for a couple of years, and it's getting to the point where it's being able to tell deeper and more emotional stories.
And at Tribeca 2017, we were actually forced to check out some of these experiences that were harrowing and important, and forced me at least to think about how I conduct myself as a journalist and as a human being on this planet.
So I saw The Last Goodbye, which is the story of a Holocaust survivor taking his last visit to the concentration camp where he was sent as a child, where his entire family was killed. It's a tremendously emotional experience, as you can imagine. But what's really interesting is how VR kind of helps to tell that story better. It's both a 360-degree video experience and also an experience where you can walk around specific sets. It's photorealistic, which I found to be really interesting. We got to see renderings of a train that took families like his to the concentration camps. We also saw rooms within the former concentration camp, and just the fact that it was so clear and that I could walk around, it really made it seem more real. It made the fact that this thing happened, and that's important today because I think a lot of people are forgetting about the horrors of the Holocaust.
I come back to Majdanek, to this camp, to convey the truth of what actually happened.
And what's really cool too is they used the technology to create a volumetric render of him, and he's actually able to look into your eyes as he's telling the story, and that really just helps him to communicate better about what he's feeling. So I found this to be a nice combination of technology and a really human story.
Speaking of virtual reality characters looking you in the eye and telling important stories, I checked out Testimony, which is basically a virtual support group for sexual assault survivors. And what happens is you're sitting in this dark, stark environment, and you look at these people's faces, and once you gaze at them, they start telling you their stories of what happened to them. They don't go into explicit detail about what physically went down, but then the impact for empathy here is greater because your brain is forced to fill in the gaps yourself.
Rape culture tells me that my body doesn't matter, that my feeling of safety does not matter, that my sexuality does not matter, and that I do not matter.
That to me was the standout of Testimony because it doesn't reenact a certain scene. It focuses also on each survivor's journey to healing after the incident, but because I checked out quite a few people's journeys afterwards, the overarching theme of the failings of the legal system to really render support and to actively investigate really comes through here. Virtual reality works here because it's an enclosed space. You have the headset and the headphones that isolates you, and you're face to face with a person that's telling you such a powerful and emotional story that it really transcends the medium and it speaks to you, or at least it spoke to me.
I also saw The Protectors, which follows park rangers in an African national park who are protecting elephants from poachers. This is an all 360-degree video experience. It's basically a VR documentary, co-directed by Imran Ismail and Catherine Bigelow. You may know her from The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. And what I really liked about this is they gave you a sense of the rangers' lives. These are guys, they're getting paid, they're getting healthcare and education for their families, but they could also be making a lot more money by siding with the poachers. So what they're doing is really noble. The film itself has some really interesting camera angles. I talked to Imran, and he said that the interesting thing about VR is that you really have to be in the action. You can't just be away from it, which is very different from a typical documentary. So this is the sort of thing that could really help to spur on more donations and more advocacy in general for the African elephants.
We also checked out what is not just a VR project, but more of a multi-medium commentary on diversity and security in technology. This is the Neurospeculative Afrofeminism project. It's a combination of 5 products, and we at Tribeca looked at all of them. We also sat through the VR portion of it. Now, the VR experience actually puts you in a salon, a futuristic salon, in the body of an African-American woman who has to go through a transcranial stimulation procedure, but because of her hair and the shape of her skull, it's different for her to experience that. And it forces you to consider how difficult it is for people with different types of hair, different types of facial contours, to use the devices the way they are designed today. The other products that Afrofem showed off included transparent sunscreen, audio and visual recording earrings. They're designed to help women and people of different types to record and protect themselves and deflect the kinds of gazes and stares and treatments they are receiving in the world today, and just call out the fact that technology and products and devices really aren't all-encompassing in the way they're designed. So the use of VR here may have been a small part of the story, but it certainly forced you to contemplate these issues.
I also checked out Blackout, which is a large VR installation that basically lets you sit in a virtual reality subway car and listen to the stories of the people who are there.
I'm married to an Irish.
I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I work for a firm in the city called Newman.
If you've ever taken a subway before and you just wonder what's going on with the lives of people around you, it's pretty much that experience. And for me, it was a nice example of showing how New Yorkers live together. Their whole project is really meant to help connect people of different ethnicities and religions, and kind of showing that we're all just living together, which is a really important message today. And you can walk around or sit in seats and just listen to everybody's stories. They actually used a complex rig to capture people in 3 dimensions and create these volumetric versions of them, so you can walk around and see them. It's not photorealistic, but it has a nice dreamy vibe, which I kind of appreciated.
Another thing that was very interesting out of Tribeca was just the variety of VR films that we haven't personally been able to check out, including one we saw about homelessness, another one that tackled the issues of social anxiety. But the overarching theme of Tribeca's VR arcade this year was just the medium is coming into its own and being used to tell important, meaningful stories in a way that no other medium really can. It's always had messages for a while, but the tech is seemingly finally mature enough to get out of the way and let these storytellers communicate their ideas across more effectively.
And the quality of the experiences is getting better, the tech is getting better all around. But I think even more importantly than the tech, I think people are trying to figure out ways to use that technology in a more meaningful way. So that's very important.